The spiral staircase. They warned me in that grim, tight-lipped way neighbors do, not with words, but with glances, sharp as rusted nails. Their eyes clung to the hills behind me, as though some unseen noose hung there, tightening with every step I took toward the crest. I paid them no mind. The house sang to me. A cruel lullaby, yes, but one that called, clear and unmistakable. Perched high upon the hill, like an old god's forgotten throne, the house was stone-born, a carcass of past centuries, crowned with moss and cloaked in ivy. Candy-glass antique windows blinked like lidded eyes, shutters creaking like arthritic joints. It smelled of damp books, of loneliness, of lavender, long since decayed, and herbs that remembered plague and prayer alike. It had no business still standing, but then, neither did I. I began sleeping there while I moved in, and began cleaning, and the renovation process. Days passed, and I mapped its secrets. The dumbwaiter that whispered in the night, like a gossiping ghost. The laundry chute that sighed whenever I passed. The coal storage where soot still clung like black snow to the old brick. And a pantry behind another pantry, as if the house, like me, could not bear to let anything go. Electricity was an afterthought. Some rooms bore bare bulbs that flickered with all the fervor of a dying man's last breath. In some rooms, denied it entirely, as if spitting in the face of modernity. It was a house that preferred shadows. I respected that. Then came the night when the storm was less a weather pattern and more a declaration of war. The wind howled into a whistle, blowing hard on the corners of the house, like something grieving, and lightning shattered the valley sky, revealing for brief flickers the contorted trees clawing toward the heavens. Thunder followed close behind, a pack of wolves howling in pursuit, and then silence broken only by the soft death rattle of the entire house sighing into darkness. Distant lightning flickered through the dingy windows, but all else was now dark. The breaker, I knew, was far below, beyond the basement, past the boiler that breathed heat like a dragon with a nicotine habit. The sub-basement, it was called, a place more folklore than floor-planned. With my flashlight trembling in hand, I descended. It was in that damp tomb of crumbly concrete and stone that I saw it. A mouse, perhaps once white, but now ashen, its fur patchy, and its skin clinging too tight to its angular ribs. It erupted from a crack no wider than a coin's edge, as though expelled from the underworld itself. It stumbled, twitching, frantic. Then, with a shrill, jubilant squeak, it leapt forward in a spasmodic burst of energy, its body a desperate streak toward some imagined safety. In an instant, it was gone. I should have left. As I reached for the edge of the crack to investigate further, my flashlight gave one final flicker and died, swallowed entirely by the waiting dark. I cursed, shaken a bit, but the thrill of mystery had its claws in me. I smacked the old flashlight and got a dull glow out of it. Feeling more than seeing, I found the crack again and pried with bare fingers. The trap door was cleverly disguised beneath a rusted grate and a thick layer of coal dust. Blind now in the absolute dark, I stumbled back upstairs, heart still drumming from what I'd seen, and returned with a dinner candle, long and tapered like a cathedral spire. I lit it with the matchbook I'd kept just for such antique emergencies. I stood over the open trapdoor and looked down. The flickering stairs beneath spiraled perfectly, too perfectly, as though a mad architect had drawn a whirlpool and declared, "Let man descend." I stepped down. Each stone step was worn but dry. The air smelled of forgotten stone and metal. As I rounded the first corner, the candle's flame bowed low, not to the wind, no, but to something else. And I heard it. Voices, faint, male, laughing, too far below, too human to ignore, too unnatural to explain. I stood there for a few minutes, my ears aching with the effort of hearing, my gut twisted in revolt. I bent my head downwards, trying to hear it again. Had it been just the wind? Some acoustic trick of this dark vertical tunnel? Should I go down and see? I told myself no. I whispered it like a prayer. Now, now, now. But my feet thought otherwise. Downward I went, like a spider descending its own thread. 10 feet, then 20. Still, the stairs wound on. The candle burned even, unwavering, casting long shadows that danced along the spiral's curve. At around 35 feet, it changed. I stopped for a moment. The storm had disappeared. No distant thunder, no creaking bones of the house above. Only silence, and the sound of my own blood pumping fast in my ears. I thought little of it and restarted my descent. But then, after a few more spirals, a terrible thought took over in my mind. Panic didn't tap me politely. It crushed me, chest first. I turned and climbed. Sure, I would reach the sub-basement threshold within seconds. The stairs mocked me with repetition. Up and up I went, muscles burning, until my heart threatened mutiny. Nothing. Each stone identical. The flickering light of the candle was too dim to reach far, and upwards or downwards, it licked the edges of a darkness that seemed to press and push, maybe even drinking in the light. Every sip making the dark darker, closer, and more oppressive around me. I must have misestimated. One more turn and I would be there for sure. I climbed some more, and then some more and more, until I knew with a certainty that I had climbed at least twice as far as I had descended. I looked up into the darkness with a sheer terror in my heart. I strained, not for rescue, but out of primal need, the way a mouse shrieks out of total fear before its heart bursts and quits. I half fell, half sat on the steps, and my hands felt the cold, cold, dry stone. I turned my head to look down and behind. Down again, then. Surely I could find the bottom, reasoned some part of my brain, not yet gnawed by madness. I went down. I ran down. I counted steps. I counted heartbeats, and the world remained the same, spinning and spinning, but the same, and the same, and the same. I lost balance stumbling forward, and the candle snapped in my hand against the wall. Wax searing my palm, I fell. The bulk of the candle rolled away, spinning down the curve, and vanishing like the mouse into the darkness. I held the stub, its flame, defiant but feeble. Minutes remained, if that. I whispered to it. I begged it not to die. And then it did. Darkness. Not merely absence of light, but presence of something older than light. Something with teeth wrapped itself around me. I could not see. I could not breathe. I curled into myself like a dying star, mouth dry, eyes wide. The silence pressed in. My tongue stuck to the roof of my mouth. I dreamed of water. I dreamed of walls, closing. Time warped. I did not know if I had been there for hours or days. It all blurred together. Every thought a whisper, every breath a question. I realized then that I was thirsty. My mouth was bone dry, my lips cracked, and I feared that I would die of thirst long before I ever saw light again. Eyes wide open, I slept the sleep of the damned. And then, the lightest of touches, skittering. Something moved across my foot, then again over my fingers. A rat. Fat, warm, alive. Heading up, I followed. Hands and knees, heart stuttering, like a broken metronome. I crawled upward, banging my knees, scuffing my hands. One corner, another. Then I saw it. Dim, yellow, and pitiful. The sub-basement's dirty old light bulb. I wept, though my eyes produced no tears. I clawed through the trapdoor like a birthing thing, desperate and crying, just like the mouse before me. I slammed it shut, shoved the iron safe over it with the strength born of madness. The house was silent once more. The storm long passed, and I never went down again. And if it calls to me still, if sometimes, in the dead hush of the midnight hour, I hear laughter in the stone, I pretend not to hear, for one spiral was enough, forever.
If you enjoyed this video, then please like, share and subscribe, and check out our other videos on the Fireside Escapes channel. Nighty night, Darklings.